Have you ever seen a character get invalidated barely even a month after their release, not even dropping on the global variant of a game? This is the story of Blue Yaga. Very unfortunate, but I had to cover this. If you play the game Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade, but you're global only, then this is probably going to be new to you. But we're just going to go over Yaga's very short-lived timeline. He was already considered a unit that would probably not do well in the future. And to see him fall off so quickly, to become so useless, to become a unit that we don't need anymore is kind of sad. On the 18th of March, Blue Yaga was announced for the Japanese version of the game Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade. The Japanese version is the original version of the game, and then global came after. And these two versions are not synced. Just to give you like some background, they were going to sync, but then they stopped. So there's a 2 to 3 month difference between these two versions. This will come into play later. But when this character when this character was even released, people were very excited for this unit because this was a Yaga unit. Yaga units had a very good track record of being the best buffer units in the game for their respective colors whenever they dropped. So seeing a Yaga unit like this drop, just seeing the art and all of that, people were extremely excited. Now, this unit was kind of expected because it was leaked. For those who don't know, this man, he basically leaked a bunch of the units, and this was one of the units that was in that leak. So people already knew a Yaga was coming. They just didn't know the coloring or all that stuff. But to see a stat buffer for Blue, which is what he was very interesting. Because for background context for newer players, a stat buffer is probably one of the best type of buffers you can get because it is like a multiplicative buff that you get to give for the whole team. That's why people are looking for stat buffers so much. And Blue, the color Blue had yet to receive one. So honestly, if you were rocking Blue, then you probably had to use like SR Yaga if you wanted a stat buffer, which was the old version of Yaga. But now that we had received this new character, people were very excited to see what would this character bring to the table, especially since the previous 3 units that had dropped before him had been exceptional units that, while being incredible supports, also did damage. So on top of being just incredible supports, they did damage, they had buffs that would not go away. It was honestly a great time for the game because these units that were dropping before this Blue Yaga were honestly the peak of the game at the time. So when the kit dropped, the trailer intro dropped, that is when the worry kicked in for the age of this unit. This unit, compared to the units that had dropped previously, didn't really have damage besides a decently hitting ult, which, you know, might not be a problem, just depending on what his skills did. So fast forward to when the character actually drops, which is on the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. On the 19th, when this character actually indeed drops, we get to read the kits, the Japanese, we get to get our translations for global, and it's revealed that this unit's kit, honestly, it's interesting, but it's not anything special. At the end of the day, his kit kind of just read like a basic stat buffer. And at the time of this game, in 2026, a basic stat buffer simply wasn't good enough anymore. His skill 2 was something interesting where it gave defense for the team, it gave crit rate for the team, which was very useful at the time, even now, because critting is a very big thing in the game because it leads to buffs. And he also extended his taijutsu and jujutsu buffs so that you wouldn't have to lose those buffs. But his skill 3 was a basic buffer that just gave this basic 65% to taijutsu and jujutsu, which is good. It is for 3 turns, and that was a good thing, but it was a little bit, basic, if you will. It's good, but it wasn't amazing. His ult was also pretty good. It did give some debuffs to the enemy and all that stuff, but again, he wasn't the craziest unit. He had some pretty decent stuff, but he didn't really do any damage, and his buffering was not like extraordinary. It wasn't better than any other unit in the game. Honestly, it was kind of low compared to the stat buffers that we had received before him. So you might be wondering, why is he then being considered as honestly the quickest downfall for a game? A unit that fell off before he even dropped on global. A unit that was actually considered good except until like maybe even a month after he was dropped. Because usually in the game that we all play, what happens is a unit will drop and they're either good or bad, and aging isn't that fast. Aging is fast, but it's not that fast. If a unit's bad, they're just going to be bad. If a unit's mid, the unit's just going to be mid. They're not really going to get better or worse. And if a unit is good, then they're going to stay good for at least a decent amount of time. But rarely in the game do we face a unit that honestly just drops and it doesn't really go well, you know? Like, they drop and they are considered pretty good, and then literally a month later they're just bad, which is what happened to this Yaga. And the reason for that is because barely a month or two later, we got the reveal for SP buffs, specifically an SP buff for Blue Miwa. I just want to say, if you're new to the channel, please hit that sub button. I try to post every 2 to 3 days, and I have 2 ongoing quote-unquote series, if you will. But if you're enjoying this video, hit that like button as well. It's very rare that I get to pump out a high edited video where I basically spend all my time trying to get it done. But if you're enjoying it, please hit that sub button. Back to the video. On the 23rd of April, the long-awaited SP buffs for Blue Miwa, Green Miwa, and Blue Nanami were officially announced. This was extremely hype and extremely important because JP, just the game in general, hadn't had SP buffs in like almost, I don't know, 6, 7, maybe even 8 months. But we had been waiting for these SP buffs for a long time. Now, as someone who, tracks JP, this was very interesting news to me, and it was good for me because I had all 3 of these characters A1. So it was very good news to hear that these SP buffs are coming out. We just needed to make sure that these buffs for these characters were good. For those who don't know, SP buffs are essentially buffs for older characters. They're the EZAs in Dokkan, the Zenkais in DBL. That's what SP buffs essentially are. And for these 3 characters, they were huge, but we're going to be focusing on Blue Miwa. When Blue Miwa's SP buff was announced, I immediately saw, like, the day that it was released, when I went into the Discord, the only thing I was hearing was the talk about how she's honestly one of the best characters in the game and that she's like insane. So I immediately went to see what did they do to make her so broken that every single person is talking about her. And what they did was they gave her this skill 3. Now, they adjusted a bunch of stuff, gave her more damage and all that stuff. But what they did was they made her a stat buffer. Now, stat buffer, you may be like remembering, that is exactly what Yaga is. Yaga is also a stat buffer who gives 65% for 3 turns to his team and can increase it to 4 turns, but it's still only going to be 65% for that 3 turns. So at max, he's giving your team, let's see if I can do some quick math, guys, hold up. 195%, unless I'm slow. 195% taijutsu and jujutsu stat, which is really good, right? That is a pretty good number for you to just have, right? But when I took a look at Blue Miwa's kit, her skill 3, her new SP Potential Unleashed skill 3, gave her 50% taijutsu and jujutsu stat to herself and to the whole team for 3 turns. So 150% at max. Which, honestly, if it was just that would have been, honestly, made her almost as good as Yaga, because while Yaga has those buffs, which is 45% more than what she gives, she also has counters, she has evades, and she actually does damage, right? So honestly, she would have been providing a little bit more to the team, but they kind of would have felt like the same unit because they both have a kind of like a pseudo counter. But when I looked at the ultimate and I looked at the auto skills, that's when it truly set in how good they made this unit. First of all, her ult gave taijutsu damage received to enemy, which wasn't the craziest, but it gave all blue jujutsu damage received as well. So you were getting the stat debuffs 25% on the enemy for 3 turns. And this ult hit like a truck. Like an actual truck. It's an insane ult, while also giving that 50% to both taijutsu and jujutsu stat and strengthening herself, which was it's already insane. Like just her alone, just like the things that she's doing with like the damage decreases she's giving to the team, the counters that she's able to hit, it's already crazy, right? It's already crazy. But counter status. When targeted by a single target, melee, all that good stuff, she does damage, but she also gives 65% taijutsu and jujutsu stat blue for 4 turns. Insane. Now, this cannot be stacked, but that's because what you're going to be doing with her is using the skill 3 like 2 times. Then you're going to use her counter, and when you hit the counter, you're going to get 65%, and that's going to be for 4 turns. So unlike the 195% that you're going to get for Yaga for those 3 turns, you're going to have an extra turn of 65% taijutsu and jujutsu stat, which is really going to buff up your skills and honestly put her on the level of stat buffs to the entire team as Yaga, completely invalidating Yaga because Yaga is a new unit. Yaga is a new unit that dropped barely even a month or 2 ago, while she is an SP buff that was given a wish list. She was on the wish list this month. That is insane. I'm so sorry for those who like this month they did not pick Blue Miwa, but you honestly should have her because she is an old unit. This is essentially a free unit for everybody, especially when you consider the wish list. She is a free unit that is on the level, if not better, than Blue Yaga, which is what completed the insane 1 month downfall of a unit I've ever seen in this game that may never be topped. Because this game doesn't have downfalls like this. This game, usually, if they drop, they're either good or bad, as I said before. But with a unit like Yaga, he, like, genuinely just fell off in a month, the quickest I've ever seen in front of my eyes. Insane work. It's not like they didn't drop new tower to counter him. There was no new tower updates. There was no new sweep update that made him technically worse. Literally just a unit dropped that an SP buff just dropped barely even a month after him that did everything he did but better. So it's kind of sad to see what they've done to Yaga because honestly I was pretty excited for him. I wasn't gonna go for him, but even though it's sad, it is which is crazy to say, it is very good for the community because now we essentially have a free blue stat buffer that we all needed. So there is trade-offs, but tell me how you feel about the subject. Like, if Blue Yaga was your favorite unit, I feel so sorry for you. If you're a JP player that summoned for him, I also feel so sorry for you. As global players, at least this is the good thing about being a global player, where you just know that you don't have to summon on Blue Yaga now. Just do not summon for him because Blue Miwa is sitting right there. And for the casual players that aren't part of the Discord, the main game Discord, because I know there are a ton of casual players, it's something that players that are in the Discord don't really think about. Like, most casual players probably don't even know it exists. But for y'all, I'm just telling y'all, don't summon for the shiny new Blue Yaga when he comes to global. But that will be all for the video. Please hit that sub button if you enjoyed this documentary style video. Since I wasn't able to give y'all like the usual edited video that I do from every Friday, I usually like heavily edit all my videos. But since I wasn't able to do that this Friday, I was like, let me just drop this. This video's gonna take forever, but man, the downfall of Blue Yaga, absolutely insane. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.